How are you today? My name is Jinju, Professor Depth of Architecture from Jinju University. I'm going to present today at the 4th International and Domestic Integrated Academic Conference in 2021. And my paper ID is 21 October per 06, and my paper title is A Study on School Architecture and Spatial Planning Measures in Response to Changes in the Educational Environment such as COVID-19 and decreases in the student population. I'm going to say first chapter, Introduction. 1.1 Purpose of the study. Since 2020, the world has been grappling with unprecedented challenges due to COVID-19. And the lives and behaviors of individuals and societies are rapidly changing. The government is implementing various quarantine guidelines to reduce the spread of infections. Such measures directly affect the schools where students work. Depending on the severity of pandemic measures, students may not go to school, or social distancing guidelines must be strictly observed at school, even when limited attendance is allowed. Meanwhile, it is widely known that in Korea, the decrease in the social age population is proceeding at a very rapid pace in tandem with an aging population due to changes in the social structure, such as severely low birth rate. According to the statistics of the Ministry of Education, the social age population is expected to decrease from 4.49 million in 2020 to 3.32 million in 2030 year, a decrease of 1.17 million or 26%. This decline of 26% in the school age population makes it possible to project that 1/4 of schools will disappear, or that 1/4 of the school space will become unused. Okay, in this context, this study aims to provide basic data for architectural plans that can be practically applied to school in the future by examining school architecture and space plans that can cope with the decrease in the number of students and COVID-19. And next is, I'm going to say, research contents and method. This study was conducted with the following contents and method. First, the study briefly examines the trend of decline in the school age population in Korea. Second, it examines the applicability of plans for campus schools with integrated administration, comprehensive media centers, and future interactive classrooms as possible means for responding to various future educational environment change factors. Third, it proposed an example, which is the draft of architectural planning for a space that responds to the COVID-19 pandemic variables. And last one is, this study suggests a multiplicated approach to improving the curriculum and system in the future, and recommends related studies in architectural planning for the transition to flexible and variable school architecture and spaces. Okay, next I'm going to say chapter 2, School Age Population Decline Trends. What will be the actual reduction in the number of students by 2030? According to the resident registration population data as of the end of 2018 and Statistics of Korea Spatial projection data for the country's future population, which is as of March 2019, and the data of the Teacher Policy Division of the Ministry of Education that applies the number of elementary school students will diminish by 930,000, 35%, and middle and high school students by 250,000, 13.2%, with a total decline of 1.17 billion, 26%, which is compared to 2020 years. We can see this data from table 1 from 2020 and 2030 estimation of school age population decreases. Also, we can see the decline curve from figure 1, 2020 to 2035, and estimation of school age population decrease. Next, I'm going to say the change in the number of students per class elementary education in Korea between 2005 to 2017 compared with the OECD data from figure 2. Such a decrease in the number of students is likely to lead to a decrease in the number of students per class. The number of students per elementary school class in Korea is 23 here, which is more than the OECD average of 21 here. The average number of students per Korean class in secondary school is 7.6, which is about 3 more than the OECD average of 23. We can see the flow curve from figure 2. According to the statistics on the change in the number of students per class based on the trend of decline over the past 5 years, it can be predicted that it will take 4.5 years. That is important to lose 1 student per elementary school class in South Korea. Okay, next chapter is chapter 3, school space that respond to changes in the educational environment. Impact various factors of the future educational environment that can impact school spaces, such as a decrease in the number of students, a sudden change in the climate environment, and changes in the ICT learning environment were fully predictable, and preparations have been underway. However, sudden pandemic variables such as COVID-19 were completely unforeseen and were not prepared for, but preparations are now in urgent demand. Such preparation requires major changes in educational policies and overall education finances. Specifically, it entails changes in the curriculum, changes in teaching and learning methods, a reduction of the number of students per class, changes in teacher acquisition policies, changes in school architecture and space, and increases in the education budget. Next, I'm going to say an increase of composite schools combining local community facilities. We can see a good example from figure 3. Okay, I'm going to say the concept. Firstly, the principle of restricting the establishment of new schools due to a decrease in the number of students, or requiring schools to be of an appropriate minimum size to avoid undersized schools inevitably reduce the opportunities for creating schools. However, as the demand for new schools continues to rise due to the development of new towns and the redevelopment of the old town areas, the establishment of a school through complex integration with the local public facilities rather than the establishment of an independent school emerges as an alternative. Okay, here is a good example. What I said. Korean Elementary School located in a farmland and residential area near in Omihachiman City, Shiga in Japan, is a composite school that combines local community facilities and an elementary school. Here is elementary school and its composite facilities. The kindergarten include childcare facilities here, regional community hall here, and regional disaster prevention base center here, and gymnasium here, swimming pool here, and library here were built on a large scale in 2016 by implementing integration with the elementary school, which has served as a representative example of a composite school in Japan. Next, in 3.2 chapter, I'm going to say the increase in schools integrating elementary, middle, and middle high levels. You know, a decrease in the number of students leads to a decrease in the number of new schools, and on the other hand, naturally results in the establishment of small schools. But since it is required that newly established schools should be of an appropriate size, a natural consequence has been the emergence of elementary and middle schools or middle and high schools. The establishment of such integrated school has been increased in Korea and Japan. However, you can see from table 2, comparison of school system by OECD countries from 6 and 3 and 3 systems and others. You're saying? Comparing the education system by OECD countries, only 8 countries of each 37 countries, member of countries, maintain the 6-2-3-2-3 school system, accounting for only 21%. Nearby 80% of countries around the world are already implementing various changes in school system, such as system change, system integration, credit system, and no grade system, or attempting other changes in the system. So I'm going to say a good example from Korea. You can see from figure 4, the Chuncheon-Taege Elementary and Middle Integrated School. It was built in 2021. Okay, you can see the images. This is the plans of a third floor. On the third floor of Taege Elementary and Middle Schools, the library and the rest area and practice room are joined at the center of third floor as an area shared by elementary and middle school students, okay? With the area for the first year of middle school placed the upper right here corner, and area for the third or fourth grade of elementary school available in the lower center here and also here. The integrated elementary and middle school does not have two separated buildings, but has an elementary school and a middle school area in the same space on the same floor of building. This is very important. What I want to say to you, a key point is, in an integrated schools, when organizing and planning spaces to promote convergence and exchanges, the space that can be shared between the two school levels should be fully shared, and the spaces freed up by sharing must be returned to elementary and middle school students as a space dedicated to their needs. Okay, now I'm going to say about comprehensive media centers combined with library and interactive classrooms. The concept is here. The decreases in the number of students is also strongly related to the emergence of comprehensive media centers. Recently, there has been growing emphasis on the importance of spaces related to a library in schools. Then, where should these libraries be located and how should they be organized? Okay, now is the time to explore efforts to transform this space made possible by the decrease in the number of students into comprehensive media center space that functions as a composite space for creative convergence. Here is a good example. Figure 5, General Media Center, Kihu Elementary School in Japan. The media center is located in the center of the space here, and the library is located on the north side and here. Since the entire first floor is not blocked by walls, okay, you can see here, a reading space, a space for presentation classes, a makeup education space, various practical classrooms, etc., are provided through comprehensive journey. This site is being used as a space for a comprehensive media center where convergence classes linking the same subject and classes linked with the other subject can be conducted and classes can be combined with each other. You can see from figure 5. Okay. Next, I'm going to say from chapter 4, that is a most important part of my paper and research, the school space utilization plans in response to COVID-19. When we wake up in the morning, we watch the news and every morning, and browse the internet also every day. Our daily life is spent in the big stitches of relief and anxiety as we learn the daily compound cases, areas with many cases of infection and changes in infection trends. Now, we have entered into a daily routine in which COVID-19 is a constant presence. These daily routines directly affect our schools and students. Students meet each other at the same school in the classroom. With the COVID-19 situation, however, there is no room for such encounters among students, and it is imperative to keep social distancing. This requires a reconsideration of changes in school space that can respond to sudden pandemic variables such as COVID-19. Okay, I'm going to say 4.1 chapter, plans to utilize the existing classroom environment. These parts are composed of 3 parts. And this study now examines plans to use the classroom environment as it currently exists in schools. First of all, current school attendance by students needs to be tracked in elementary and middle schools of the entire students attend school. Okay, only 1 per 3 of the students physically attend school, but when they enter school classroom, 100% of the same students find themselves in the classroom as previously. Okay. It is because they only go into their designated classroom 100%. While only 1/3 of the entire students attend school, a single classroom remains holding students at 100% capacity, as 2/3 of the classroom remains empty and unused. Okay, you can see from figure 6. Then, assuming that 1/3 of the students attend school, it is necessary to consider whether it is available to leave 2/3 of classroom spaces unused, or how to use these classrooms more efficiently. Okay? If place 1/3 of the students in one central classroom and the remaining 2/3 of the students in the adjacent classroom, in the 1/3 of the central classroom, the teacher conducts class face-to-face, and in the other 1/3 and remaining 1/3, teaching assistant provides support or observe, so that what the teacher is performing is mirroring in both classrooms. You can see the concept from image from figure 7. And next, you can see the image from figure 8, 1/3 face-to-face classes, and 1/3 mirroring class in the next room, and 1/3 mirroring home online class. This concept is like this. Another method assumes that only 2/3 of the space is used when it is difficult to use 100% of the school facilities again. Okay? 1/3 of the students attend school. The teacher conducts class face-to-face in one class, and 1/3 of the students study through mirroring in the next classroom. The remaining 1/3 of students who are unable to attend school take online mirrored class at home. Instead of merely watching EBS classes, okay, that is important, they watch the contents of teacher's face-to-face class. Okay, next, 4.2, I'm going to say variable response for new school or school spaces that can be expanded or remodeled. The first concept is converting corridors into workspaces. The study considers an alternative concept for new schools or existing schools that can be expanded or remodeled in the direction of the corridor. You can see from figure 9, transforming a corridor from an existing passage concept into workspace concept. Here is classroom, here is 4.5 meters workspace and 3 meters corridor. And here is a concept of classes in an extended place to the workspaces. Okay, this takes the concept of a corridor beyond the concept of the simple passage, the concept of a composite workspace with functions such as exchange, rest, preparation, and home base. For this purpose, a space of total 7.5 meters can be reconfigured to combine the function of a 4.5 meters wide workspace with the function of an ordinary 3 meters passages, corridors. In the event of COVID-19 situation or a similar situation, the classroom space will be expanded toward the workspace to ensure a sufficient distance of 2 meters between students and social distance, and a classroom environment that allows allows 50% of students to take classes, okay? To extend it to workspaces. Next is conversion through joining by grade level and an improvement of a student mobility guides. This is also a flat layout concept that includes the conversion of the joining for each grade level and guidelines for the movement of students in those schools. In the COVID-19 situation, social distancing is one of the key preventive measures, and it is important to minimize mobility and contact among students in the school. Even if 1/3 of students attend school, normal mobility and contact within the school are not as easy as before. For the plan of new school that addresses these conditions, various forms can be proposed according to the intention of a designer. The following proposes a concept with a conversion through joining by grade level and an improvement of student mobility guides. For example, joining established clusters of 3 or 4 classes in each, and an independent public facilities, stairs and toilet and washrooms is arranged in each cluster. The plan is to minimize vertical and horizontal mobility and contact by allowing 2 classes to use the independent public facility normally used by 3 or 4 classes during COVID-19. And this is as usual, and this is in COVID-19 situation. Horizontal mobility between classes within a cluster is possible, Horizontal mobility is possible. And the movement to the upper and lower floors, or adjacent buildings here, such as administrative areas, practice classrooms, restaurants, and auditoriums, should be approached only through independent vertical line of mobility within the cluster, minimize contact with each other. This is a mobility concept guideline. And in the independent public facility assigned for cluster, sanitary arrangement and space composition are further expanded and emphasized than the current standards, so that students' hygiene and health are prioritized even in normal times. In the context of COVID-19, it is essential to have the teaching aid storage here to provide teaching materials from classrooms or workspace from here to into the storage. And it is up to an architect whether to freely arrange creative convergence composite spaces for students, such as exchange, rest, reading, class preparation, and faculty space in the cluster, what I said. And one of the plans in the flat configuration concept is to expand the width of the classroom toward the workspace, like this workspace, and allow students to have face-to-face class and mirrored class while maintaining a 2-meter social distance, like this. COVID-19, 2 classes. And normal 4 classes, and 4.5-meter workspace and 3-meter corridor as usual. Another plan is that only a part of it is extended toward the workplace. Okay, here. And the back wall is moved here, so that 2 classrooms can be expanded into 1 classroom, like here, forming a space where a whole class of students can take class simultaneously, like here. We can see conversion through joining by grade level and an improvement of student mobility guides. Okay, here is the rest. I'm going to say Chapter 5, Conclusion. This study has considered proposing basic data in architectural planning that can actually be applied to school sites to respond to future changes in the educational environment, such as a decrease in the number of students and important COVID-19. In the future, along with a multiplicated approach such as an improvement of the curriculum and system-related studies on the aspects of architectural planning for the transition to flexible and variable school architecture and space should be actively conducted. This is most important conclusion what I said. I'm gonna say again at end of this presentation. Now I'm gonna say two suggestions. The first is understanding the essence of school space innovation. I believe that everyone will understand that this method is not sustainable if it is merely to improve old facilities instead of carrying out fundamental reforms that incorporate changes in the curriculum system. There may be people who believe that transforming a school into a colorful interior and playground is genuine space innovation. But I sincerely hope that people do not commit a failure to capture the background and purpose of this project. This is what I want to say. And second is mandatory transition to flexible and variable school architecture and space. The fixed architecture and space themselves should not become constraints that make it difficult to respond to new curriculum, users, environment, and other changes. It is clear that they must fit into the present age when schools are being built, but they must be able to respond to flexibly to various and unpredictable changes at any point in the future. So, it is necessary to change the thinking and practices that have shaped school architecture and space and plan a school that minimizes flexibility and variability from now on. This is most important point what I want to say in this study. Okay, it is the end. Thank you very much for listening my presentation. I hope you are always healthy. Thank you again.